Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Higher or Lower, the show brought to you by oddschecker, Sporting Index and Spreadex. We look ahead to the weekend's football and say if we think the eventual results will be higher or lower than the midpoint. It is FA Cup weekend.
It is.
Always fun.
I think so.
I'm your host, George Janik. This is Dan Worth, who thinks it's going to be fun.
I think it's
and this is
fun.
Jack Wright.
Hi there.
We're not going to talk about Oxford versus Norwich.
No?
Can't remember the score from Tuesday night. Your yellows, I think, might be my yellows. Let's move on. Let's get straight into the action then. We're going to start with Hull versus Chelsea, Championship Hull, who high-flying in the Championship, but a couple of poor results recently up against Liam Rosenior's Chelsea side, who squandered a 2-goal lead against Leeds in midweek to draw that game 2-2. Total goals is the market we're looking at here. 3.25 to sell, 3.45 to buy. 3, 2, 1. All in agreement. Jack can tell me why.
The return of Rosenior to Hull,
Exactly.
former club. Interested, see how that goes. Part of this process is something we touched on a couple of weeks ago, actually, is the Hull expected goals against. And that's a theme that's continued. They are second worst for that in the Championship, where they've kind of got away with it. And the thought process for me really is that they will, if they offer those chances up again, they probably won't get away with it against Chelsea. Although they have been known to miss high expected goals chances this week as well. But I think, whatever Chelsea side that gets put out here, they have got the ability to rotate and to go into this and will get chances and score goals. Hull's last game was a 3-2 home defeat to Bristol City. At least 3 goals in 4 of the last 6 as well. And Chelsea have been exciting to watch under Rosenior, and they've scored plenty of goals as well. Obviously, they threw that 2-goal lead away, but that's another case in point, really, is the other side of the coin is that they have a bit of vulnerability at the back. We saw them go 2 down against West Ham, but then have the ability to come back. So I just think that they're sharp in attack and they give out chances at the back, and I think Hull could potentially get on the score sheet here. But I think Chelsea will show their class. Obviously, Rosenior's first game in charge was in the last round of the FA Cup when they went to Charlton and won that 5-1. Maybe not as high scoring in this one, but I certainly would want to be on the higher side of this line than taking a chance on a tight and cagey affair. So goals for me.
Dan?
Yeah, exactly the same. We've seen quite a lot of goals in Chelsea games in the Premier League and all of the other competitions recently. I think this line's landed in 4 of the last 5 Chelsea games against better opposition than Hull. So I don't see why it wouldn't happen here, so I'm happy to go higher.
Yeah, me too. I'm a little bit spooked by the fact that Hull have been much better defensively recently. They have improved at the back. Their games aren't quite so end-to-end, but the way that Chelsea approach these games now under a senior, and the fact that it's a cup game, meaning that as soon as the first goal goes in either way, it's just going to kind of descend into madness. This is the one where I definitely agree. It wouldn't surprise me at all if this is a really high-scoring affair. Burton Albion hosting West Ham now, a proper cup tie, this one. Total goal minutes is what we're looking at. 160 to sell, 170 to buy, so 165 is the midpoint for Burton West Ham with Spreadex. So we're going higher or lower. 3, 2, 1. Oh, Dan. No goals for you.
Anti-goals.
No, anti-goals. If I'm honest, this is just vibes. It really is just vibes, because West Ham are quite clearly better than Burton Albion and they could potentially blow them out of the park. But I'm looking at this much like I looked at Tottenham versus Tamworth last season, of which
still riding that glory.
I may have mentioned on the show that I went lower and it was 0-0. A very similar line, actually, maybe a little bit higher. Yeah, just think it might be tighter than people suggest. Obviously, the win over QPR, or the draw and then winning extra time over QPR, was sort of the start of West Ham's recent resurgence. But yeah, since then, they've looked pretty decent. The one worry I have is that against QPR, West Ham did start with quite a strong front line. But aside from that, they rotated quite heavily. So hopefully Somerville, who's been in fine form recently, and Bowen, who did start against QPR, will be rested here. And I'll feel much more comfortable about going lower.
Jack, why are you going higher?
I just feel that Burton games have had plenty of goals in them in the league. So the last 11 in the league's averaged nearly 3.5 goals per game. Both teams to score have also landed in the last 6. And I know that's League One, but they've obviously shown elements that they're kind of leaguey defensively. And I think West Ham will want to ride the momentum. And it's also, I don't think they will do many favours for them to bow out of the competition to Burton or even put in a stodgy performance. I think they'll want to put in a decent performance. And you're right, what caught my eye in that last round was they did go strong. Nuno went strong, probably to try and get some momentum. So I don't think he's going to throw that away. And you're right, Bowen, Somerville and Tatty all started for them in round 3 against Queen's Park Rangers. So, and still only 1 clean sheet in 22 under Nuno. So still not quite solved that issue. So I think, Burton at home could well get on the score sheet as they have done regularly. But there should be goals, and therefore I think the 165 is worth attacking.
Yeah, I definitely, as I mentioned the other day as well, I think West Ham's games have become more open since Paco came into the club as assistant manager. I think we're seeing a bit of a shift in terms of mentality. Burton, they'll have a go here. I don't think they're going to sit back all game and kind of let West Ham attack. Because it's a cup game again, normally there are late goals because regardless, unless one of the teams are kind of 3-0 up or 4-0 up and it descends into nothing, normally if there's something to play for, it means that the team who are chasing the game generally open up and that creates some space and behind on the counter, or it means that they find goals. So it's not an overly prohibitive line. I think maybe because West Ham are seen as being relatively miserly, that's why we're getting it. But it wouldn't surprise me again if this is pretty high scoring. Liverpool hosting Brighton now. Liverpool after beating Sunderland in midweek. Brighton having been defeated by Aston Villa away from home. It wasn't necessarily a terrible display from Brighton, that one, but they were still seen off by Tyrone Mings late in the day. All Premier League clash this. Liverpool are favourites for it and by over a goal as well. So the supremacy is 1.05 to sell, 1.25 to buy. So 1.15 with spread X is the midpoint. So higher here is Liverpool to cover the -1. Lower is a Brighton win, a draw, or Liverpool to win by a solitary goal. 1, 2, 3. All in agreement. I'm denied about this for a while. Like Liverpool have obviously improved. Now they're playing pretty well. Again, I watched the game last night. I thought Wirtz was excellent amongst other Liverpool players. And Wirtz is under some significant pressure. And that is kind of playing into my stance here, where obviously for Liverpool this season, the FA Cup is important. I think Arne Slot will be desperate to win a trophy, having won the Premier League last season, but obviously not in the race to win it this time around. And this is an opportunity for them to, for him to the haters and to the detractors to have something to show for the season. But I think for Hertzler, this is really important. He has to find a way to basically keep his job. And again, for Brighton, the FA Cup is a massive opportunity to do that. So I think in terms of team selection, I think we'll see Brighton put out a pretty strong side. They're a good team. They were good against Villa last time. And to get all those kind of 3 eventualities on side is enough for me. Jack, what about you?
Yeah, it's getting so many scorelines on side in an important competition now for both these sides. And I've just looked as well at the respective home and away form. And you look at Liverpool, yes, all right, a 2-1 defeat to City in bizarre circumstances as well. It's not massively relevant to that, but when you look at some of the stuttering performances they put in recent weeks, a 1-1 tie draw with Burnley, 0-0 with Leeds, a 2-1 win over Wolves, and that 1-1 with Sunderland, you think, well, they're not blowing teams away. Of course, they always have the ability to do that, but generally haven't done it too often against Premier League opponents this season. And Brighton games, although they're on a terrible run, their games are normally fine margin games. So we're getting the fine margin Liverpool win on side as well as Brighton managing to pull off a draw or a win of their own. They lost 2-0 to Liverpool at Anfield. There's been 11 games they've played since then. And they've won 2, drawn 5 and lost 4 of those. All those defeats were by a single goal though. Palace, Fulham, Arsenal and Villa. So a couple of tough venues to go in there, certainly. So all that would add into the fact that this bet would have landed in all of those particular games. So I'm happy to get the majority of results on side.
Dan?
Yeah, that stat there is massive for me as well, as that, Brighton aren't in the best of form at the moment, but when they are getting beaten, they're not getting hammered. And as you said, by 1 goal would, if that happens here, we still win, albeit a small profit, but we'll take it. Okay,
3 more games on the card before we get to our naps. Birmingham against Leeds is next up. Total goals is the market here, 2.8 to sell, 3 to buy. 2.9 the midpoint then, with Sporting Index. So higher here is 3 or more goals, lower is 2 or fewer. 3, 2, 1. Dan, you love goals, take it away.
Well, some wise person said to me last week that FA Cup 4th round games equal goals. So why have we got a line here that is below 3?
I don't know, mate. You tell me.
Seems wild to me. I guess the reason is because Birmingham games recently haven't been overly goalsy, but they're playing Leeds, and their games have been. There have been lots of goals in Leeds games. Leeds are quite buoyant at the moment. They're in relatively good form in the Premier League. I just think this has got goals. So, yeah, purely low line, I'm ready to hit it.
Jack?
Yeah, let's not forget Leeds last season were a championship side, as Birmingham are this season, and were dominant in that and scored goals galore. They also showed the gap in round 3 when they went to Derby, and I watched that game and they were excellent in that. They did kind of stamp their authority on the game despite going a goal down. So, yeah, over 3.5 in that one, as it turned out in the end. So, this does feel a low line given that. And I think Birmingham, given their feeling at this moment in time as a football club, would want to put in a little bit of a statement here and say that we are able to compete with these kind of sides. A Leeds side that were title winners last season, they're looking to follow in their footsteps to a certain degree. So, only 1 defeat in the league at home this season, 11 unbeaten, failed to score for the first time at home. Somehow against West Brom in midweek. Again, watched the end of that game and it was bizarre how they didn't even score at least a couple of times in added on time, let alone for the 90. So, and that was also their first clean sheet in 9. So goals at both ends for them. And I think against Leeds we should see certainly this line crossed.
Yeah, totally agree. Almost like an auto bet in these FA Cup games for it to be below 3, but no reason to think that this Leeds team won't be pretty attacking focused. Birmingham certainly at home will throw everything at it. It should be a really good game to watch, really end to end, and I can't really see why this is below 3, or at least it's 3 to buy with Sporting Index. 2 big old supremacies now. Arsenal, Wigan. What's funny about this is you messaged us saying, have you ever seen a supremacy bigger than this? And then the next game is a bigger supremacy than this, that we're going to talk about in a second. So, but Arsenal, Wigan, Arsenal favourites, 3 to sell, 3.3 to buy with Sporting Index. So if you're going higher here, you need Arsenal to win by 4 or more goals. Lower would be 3-2-1 draw, or a Wigan win. 3-2-1. We're all going lower.
Wow. Go on, the Wigan.
What's interesting about this is that we're recording this at 10:30 on Thursday morning. There are some who believe that we're going to hear from both Exeter City and Wigan this afternoon about the appointment of Gary Caldwell as Wigan manager. It's not confirmed, it's just been reported that might be the case. Gary Caldwell was Exeter manager when his team went to Manchester City in the last round and got beaten 10-1. So, but
he wants a bit of thinking time, yeah?
If you look at the underlying numbers of that game, it was very low. City's 10 goals came from 2.8 expected. It was a crazy game. And yeah, I mean, it's just such a high line. Obviously, Arsenal might put them to the sword. Wigan, and there's a fair chance that Caldwell won't even be in the dugout for this one. Wigan are soul searching at the moment. Their fans are not happy. It's a pretty toxic place. Hopefully, this will be some light relief for them. They're relatively solid, what is what I would say. They're not like one of these bad teams that concede loads of goals. They generally just don't score very many goals. And even though Arsenal should win this pretty comfortably, I can't go over 4 or more myself. Jack?
Yes, so many results on side here. Obviously, a 3-goal Arsenal win, and anything worse than that for them is in our pocket. So it's got to be the play for me. Havertz, the latest injury concern for them. So the likes of Moreno, Odegaard, Saka, big doubts for the game. And also, you touched on it when we're recording this. After we recorded this tonight, Arsenal play Brentford in and now what is a big league game for them. So that is not an easy fixture for them. So if they were to get beat in that one, their gap at the top, or their cushion at the top of the table, would only be 3 points. And they have that extra game, don't they? They play next week in midweek against Wolves in that extra fixture. So this one is a bit of a inconvenience to a certain degree, and certainly their focus will be 100% on those two. So they've absolutely got no reason to go strong in this, or likely to go strong in this, and to want to rack up 6, 7, 8 goals. So, yeah, I feel that's the main areas. Strong tonight, rotation at the weekend, strong against Wolves, and I think Wigan can keep it respectable.
Dan?
Yeah, I'm much the same. I just don't really know what motivation Arsenal have to go and try and smash these guys 6-0. I think if they go up, they'll be pretty content to sit back and kind of nurse a comfy win, because as you say, they've got games coming out of their ears now, and if they are actually going to put together like a proper attempt to win the quadruple, which I imagine they will, they're not going to want to lose any more players to injury. So it's probably not in their best interest to blow out against Wigan. One thing that I can add here, although very little to build on what you guys have said, but obviously watched Wigan in midweek against my team. And one thing that stood out to me was how Reading dominated Wigan in the air. Arsenal, arguably the best team, particularly going forward in the air. No markets just yet, but maybe look out for that once the game against Brentford tonight has finished, because headed goal minutes or backing whichever centre-back start for Arsenal, goal minutes could be a play.
Love it. Bonus tip.
Indeed.
Yeah. I wanted to do it as my nap, but as I say, no markets, because Arsenal obviously play tonight.
Macclesfield versus Brentford now, Monday Night Football, and I'm red-faced because I've seen now that it's not the supremacy that I called you out for.
It's all right.
It's total goals. 3.55 is the midpoint here, 3.45 to sell, 3.65 to buy.
I'm still reeling in horror.
Sorry. 3, 2, 1.
Oh, disagreement.
Finally,
This is what we come for.
We've done you.
Monday night.
Did you not watch Macclesfield against Palace?
Yeah, 3 goals.
They barely got in.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's not the best form line, but Macclesfield games have quite a lot of goals in, don't they? 4-2, 4-3, 2-1, 5-1, 3-1. All against non-league opposition. When one of the best teams, best attacking teams, well, one of the best teams in the Premier League comes to town, are they going to score? I think so. I think there's going to be lots of goals. Already used this rationale previously, 4th round FA Cup. If it's less than 3, then fewer than 3 goals, I'm attacking it. But yeah, I mean, I'm looking at this as Brentford, one of the best attacking teams in my opinion in the Premier League, going to a non-league team, and yeah, gonna have their way. So hi,
Jack.
Yeah, it's a tricky one because look, in the similar way we then talked about, Brentford could go there and run riot. You know, the Premier League side show their class, but that was the expectation of Palace going to Macclesfield in the last round, and obviously it didn't happen that way. Macclesfield have played 7 games since then, since that win over Palace, and obviously the majority of those have been in the knowledge that they've got a game against Brentford coming up. So they've won 5 and lost 2 of those at that level. Both those 2 defeats were away, so have shown they are very strong at home regardless of the opposition. Brentford aren't the best on the road, albeit at Premier League level, and continue to punch way above their expectation, and do have, as we've already mentioned, a game against Arsenal after we recorded this and before this game. So a few anomalies to take into account there, but the one that's kind of swayed me to go and lower is the pitch. It's a 4G pitch. It's not something that Brentford will be used to playing on in a league environment or in a game environment. There was talk that Palace players struggled to adapt to it. It was something of a leveller, getting used to the bounce, etc., etc. So with that, even a bedded in period, that's going to eat into the ability of the potential of them scoring plenty of goals. So Palace rotated quite heavily and kind of paid for it, changed it at half time and kind of then got a foothold in the game. Be interesting to see how Keith Andrews approaches this one, given that they are performing exceptionally well in the league, of course. So they went to Wednesday in the last round. A side, again, they were expected to blow away, and they did create plenty of chances, but only won that one 2-0. So, and Wednesday will be at a championship side, are way below that as far as the teams they put out. So, on the face of that, I'd probably expect a similar result outcome. Macclesfield to keep it respectable, Brentford to progress through, but lower than 3.55. Yeah,
totally agree. I think this, even though I am keen on goals generally, you kind of need both teams to do that. And even though Macclesfield was so impressive against Palace, I find it hard to really kind of count them in for too many goals here. But they were so solid. Like, that was the thing, watching that game. It was amazing the way that even when they were ahead in that game, like normally when a minnow is ahead against a Premier League team, it's like wave after wave of pressure and they're missing chances, and there just wasn't the case here. Like, Macclesfield were able to see it out relatively comfortably despite conceding late on. So, I think this could be more cagey than most non-league versus Premier League games would be. Right, nap time. Dan, come to you first. What's your best bet?
So, quite ironic timing given the market that we just spoke about. But firstly, I wanted to make a case for how exciting round 4 totals markets are with Spreadex and Sporting Index. You can back all 16 games, which is exactly what I'm doing here. But I'm going for a sell of total round 4 goals at 51. Ooh. That's an average of 3.2 per game, which when you look through the 16 games, we've covered some of the best ones, obviously the televised ones. There are quite a few in there that I think will be tight.
Wow.
I'm not going to call them out, but the 16. And then you look at the averages from the last 3 years, all 3 of them come underneath this line. Last year there was 45 in this round. The previous year there was 50, which obviously runs close, but still doesn't go over. And the year before that, 46. So, yeah, it's not a line where I think there's going to be loads of profit here, because it probably will go close. But it's a bit of fun and I fancy it, so I've gone for it.
Wow. Jack?
I've gone a bit rogue here, and I've played with Joker. I have cleared this with the authorities, and they said it's okay, but there are other games around. So this is not an FA Cup. Yeah,
I'm doing the same.
Oh, good. There we go.
I didn't clear it with the.
Well, I mean,
that was the beef.
So yeah, I'm going to QPR Blackburn, and I've had a bit of success with the recent nap, so I'm going to stick to exactly the same process and thinking QPR total goal minutes in this one. It's a midpoint of 67. I'm going higher. And again, this is a line which I don't quite understand why it's the joint lowest in the Championship this weekend. The total goal line is 119. QPR, they've won 6 of their last 8 at home. They've scored 20 goals across those games, with at least 2 in 7 of those, and have cleared this line comfortably in every single one. 139, 86, 183, 90, 109, 130, 191 and 159. They've scored 10 goals at home after the 70th minute as well, which is the most in the league, which is obviously a great factor to have when you're playing the high line. And averaging 1.87 goals per home game. Only Coventry, Birmingham and Ipswich have scored more home goals than them. And Blackburn, 0-8 on the road in all competitions. They've lost their last 3 away games in the league, conceding 3 at Ipswich and Swansea, with goal minutes of 103 and 134. And I saw them last week in a 2-0 defeat at Norwich, 151 there in the last one. And I think this is a double-edged sword for the goal minutes for QPR. It could be that they score early, as they have done, and go on to win and win well. Or it could be, like I saw last week, Rovers kind of keep it relatively tight for a decent chunk of the game, but eventually get broken down and then concede a couple. They've done that a bit this season as well. So either way works. Midpoint of 67, QPR total goal minutes. I've gone higher.
Cool. I'm going to the Championship, and again I'm going Monday Night Football, and again I'm going for the best game of the weekend, and again I'm going to tell you to watch it, because anyone who watched that game on Monday night between Middlesbrough and Sheffield United surely was happy that they did so. We've got another one here, 8 o'clock kickoff. It's actually live on ITV, so you don't need ITV4, so you don't even need Sky Sports to watch this one. Coventry second, having been top all season pretty much. Now toppled off their perch by Middlesbrough, who travelled to Coventry on Monday night. It's going to be brilliant. I went for goals cubed, I think, last time, which wasn't very good goals. Anyway, there were 3 goals. There should have been more. There were loads of shots. What I'm going to go for here, Coventry, who are, I think, are shell-shocked given what's been going on there recently. They were held to a 0-0 draw by Oxford last time. Middlesbrough are, in my mind, quite clearly the best team in the league right now. Kim Hellberg is a ridiculously good manager who, frankly, should be bang up there for the candidates for the Spurs job, in my mind, although Borough fans wouldn't like me to say that. I am going to go for first Middlesbrough goal here, and it's 51-54, so the midpoint 52.5. I'm selling. The way that Borough start their games is just ridiculous. Like, they're so front-footed straight away. If you go back, their good run started on the 4th of January, where they beat Southampton 4-0, and it was 0-0 there at half-time. But since then, this bet has copped in every single game they've had. So the 3-1 against Fulham in the Cup was 30, 42 in the 3-2 win over West Brom, 48 in the 2-1 win over Stoke, 9 big winner in the 4-0 win over Preston, 17 in the 1-0 win over Norwich, and 19 in the 2-1 win over Sheffield United. A team that come out and play expansive football on the front foot immediately. I think they'll come out and they'll catch Coventry cold, and I'd be really surprised if they don't have multiple good opportunities to score in that first half. So very, very keen on Borough to win this game, and very keen on them to pile on the misery for Frank Lampard's Coventry City. Right, there we have it. That brings this episode of Higher or Lower to a close. If you haven't already got a SpreadX account or a SportingX account, make sure you click in the link in the show description and sign up for one there. Make sure you read up on the risks of spread betting, and remember that losses can exceed your initial deposit. Oddschecker have you covered for your fixed odds betting needs, and WhoScored.com will have all the stats to inform your selections over the weekend. Thank you, Dan.
Thank you, George.
Thank you, Jack.
Thank you, George.
Here's to a goal frenzy FA Cup 4th round weekend. Thank you for watching. We'll be back again next week, but in the meantime, please do ensure that you're gambling responsibly.